You're
Yeah,
helping to nourish them so that they can bear good fruit.
absolutely. That's the way to deal with your people. You have to support them. Even if they want to go out from under your umbrella, okay, to a different team, you need to be there for them. For them to grow within your organization or outside your organization is your success as a manager.
On this episode of A Call to Leadership, we address the important question of teams in leadership in our business environment, especially ones who are virtual. I've invited an expert in this area, my very own cousin, who runs teams all across 2 continents for a major software developer. I can't wait for you to join us and listen into this highly relevant, super high content conversation about virtual teams. I'm Dr. Hatem Salah, and this is A Call to Leadership. Hatem Salah, welcome to the show. So glad to have you on this episode of A Call to Leadership. We've been talking for some time, and I'm glad we were able to make our schedules work because you have so much to add to this conversation about leadership. Of course, we've known each other for many, many, many years. That's because we're cousins, right? And so
Right.
you are a mentor to me, continue to be a mentor to me over the years. And your wisdom is so vast in your life experience, but not just living, but also how you've managed your teams along the way. I mean, you're being a director of one of the largest software companies on the planet, having 71 countries under your arms, right? And on 2 continents is a big deal. And, this conversation that I'd love to have with you, and our audience, I think, would love to have with you is, related to something that's happened, very relevant right now is this pandemic hit. And so many people didn't know how to adapt to this new virtual environment. And you had already been in the virtual environment before the pandemic because of your great reach over all this space. And you've managed over our conversations to share with me how you've created such a wonderful culture, at least a subculture within, your team, that I'd love to be able to extract some of those values that you've created and how you're able to create cohesiveness, people that really enjoy working for you and with you, and, your trajectory along the way. So let's start with this. You're in 71 countries, right? Tell me about your teams. How vast is that? How many people do you have? How do you communicate with them? Things like that.
Okay, well, Nate, first of all, it's a privilege to be in your network. Thank you very much for being here. It's a true honor. And sharing all the information that we extract from life, okay, more than books, and what we see on the ground, what we see in theories and all that. And that's the beauty of it. So as you've said, I'm working with a big software company and I do manage 71 countries. I know it's crazy, but that wouldn't happen with a great team. And we just closed one of our quarters, one of our best quarters. Okay, so the company's numbers are way high and we're really proud of it. It's a great company. And as you said, in this new norm, things have changed a lot. I've been working from home for the past 2 years. And as you said, it wasn't new to me. We've been doing this for a while, but from an office. We missed, of course, socializing with the people in the office. But with my team, it's been always online. Matter of fact, there's people on my team that I never met in my life. Okay. Mm-hmm. And we've been all the time online. And a lot of people do ask me, like, how do you manage that? Okay. How do you manage people that you never met in your life and they're so loyal? How do you do that? And I tell them, I don't know, just depends on the manager himself. Okay. And I keep on telling everyone, they're humans. And they're like, what? And like, they're humans. Just treat them like humans. And like, what do you mean? Like, in a big company where we have thousands and thousands of employees, okay, people tend to forget that their team are people. They're really people. And they have families. They have kids. They have schools. They have health issues. And they have wives, kids. And you have to worry about their family. Okay, so one of the things, like a small example, one of the things I recently have adopted, which is because of this online and having back-to-back calls all day. So I said to my team, listen, from now on, we're not going to have a 1 hour call. We're going to start with 45. 15-minute break between the calls. Okay, this is something that is important for the well-being. People don't have time to take lunch breaks, and I'm telling them, no, we need to start taking lunch breaks, even if you're working from home. Okay, if you can do whatever you want in your lunch break. One of the things that I told even my team is that we need to select a date where there's no online calls. Okay, just look up for your emails, do some partner calls, because we take care of our partners in the Alliance and Channel organization, and be close to them. Okay, forget about this online calling and video conferencing and all that. So that plays a big role. Okay, and how to work with such teams.
You remind me, when you say that, it reminds me of something John Maxwell said, that people don't care what you know until they know that you care. And so it sounds to me like you, not only your people, see, you can fake caring. You've probably, we've all maybe worked for someone who like cared because it was part of the rules or the requirements to ask you, how do you feel? Things like that. But there's a difference when you actually are taking steps to say, look, I care about your well-being. And it's authentic, right? There's an inauthenticity about caring, which actually can become negative in terms of productivity and burnout and whatnot. But then there's an authenticity that's really attractive. You mentioned the word loyal, right? Because people 100%. Like, okay, you actually do want what's best for me and my family beyond the number. And of course, I know that you're smart enough to know that, well, look, it works for everyone because the numbers will actually rise. Productivity and performance and outcomes actually improve in environments that are healthy and sustaining.
100%, Nate. And one of the most important words that I keep on reminding the team is passion. Okay. And on my last call with the team earlier this week, okay, I told them, listen, okay, you have to remember that when you wake up in the morning, okay, you should be excited about opening your laptop. And if you're not excited about opening your laptop, okay, and be passionate about, bringing value, okay, you're in the wrong business. Wow. And I need to remind this with my team because I want them to be really passionate about what they do. And if there's something that they feel not good about, just bring it on the table. And one of the things that I keep on telling other managers is that, see, I heard that one of my bosses told me once is like, Hatem, you're doing all the work. I'm like, I'm part of the team. What they do, I do as well. So when my team takes a vacation, guess what? I take care of their business. This is part of the team. No, I don't delegate it to someone else. It's very important. So they feel that, oh, so our boss is doing what we do exactly. And I'm like, yes. And of course, you bring in competition because, you're managing their business in a different way sometimes. And they like, wow, okay, this is real nice. Okay, would you like to do my job? And I'm like, no, this is your job. It's not mine, but I'm part of them. Okay, so there is, although in our HR, of course, there's hierarchy. Okay, you said the word director, true, and there's a manager, of course, and there's senior director, true, but we're all one team in the end, and we do whatever it takes to bring in value to our partners, to our customers, okay, and to the market. And you said the very important word is, caring, and caring could be faked. And I asked every manager, okay, when one of your employees got sick, did you follow up with him by a text message? Because now it's COVID and all that every day. Or was it just the first day and the last day we're going to come back to work? Well, that's what I say about people. It's, you care to the level, okay, of taking care of their business, telling them, no, take your time. Okay, I'm with you all the way. Every morning is how you're doing this morning, or you're feeling better, okay, if it's serious. And I give, one of my recommendations to all the managers is like, you're dealing with people, okay? You want them to be passionate about their work, loyal to their work, happy with their well-being, okay, and comfortable in working from home, because working from home has a lot of distracts. I mean, when the door bell goes off, you have to put the mask, open the door, and in the past it was even more difficult. We used to put gloves and all that. Okay, so you're at home, anything could happen. And I always tell my team, listen, if there's something important that you have to do, okay, go and do it. Okay, drop your work, okay, and go and do it, because I don't want you to be sitting down between this video camera and your screen and calling people while you have something else on your mind. That's not going to work.
So two things really important. One, don't just check the box. right? Because, okay, like, oh, it's my responsibility to contact you, twice when you've been in an injury or some kind of, issue, right? Some emergency. I contact you at the beginning. I contact you at the end. I've checked the box, right? That's not caring. That's simply protocol. And
Exactly.
it's actually a challenge to me. And I know it's a challenge to other people listening, some of our listeners, because sometimes I'll find myself in that same scenario and I have to remind myself that, look, you've got to remember that as busy as you are, these people are your people. They're your part of, they're part of your family, your business family, and you have to take care of them. And that's a challenge. But the second part of that is this, this idea of passion. And I wonder, when you make the comment that, you allow them time to handle their personal business or whatever it is that will keep them from focusing, right, on the work at hand. And I wonder, for some listening might say, well, then I'll just have people that take advantage of me and that say, oh yeah, this week I had to take care of this. And maybe they just had their feet up on the couch, binge watching, some program on Netflix. I think I know where you're going to go with this, but I want to open it to, how you respond, to that perspective.
I didn't get the question properly, Nate.
Yeah. So the question is, how do you mitigate people taking advantage of your quote unquote generosity, of caring, compassion, of empathy? Because some might say, you know what, if I gave that opportunity to some of the people on my team, they would just, like I said, prop their feet up and just chill all week and watch TV.
Well, I'm not sure how to answer this, Nate, to be honest with you, because, well, let me just go back a little bit. So what did I discover in life? I discovered in life is that, meticulous people, precise people, passionate people, they hire the same people. Okay.
That's right.
I hired my team. And a lot of people ask me, like, I hired two ladies once in two different continents, and the salesperson, the sales senior director from the sales organization, like, how did you find two ladies from two different countries? And they're exactly the same. And I'm like, I'm not sure, it was probably by coincidence. Managers, people hire people like them. Okay. Yeah. This is number one. So when you hire the right people, they stand with you all the time. There's no, transparency, at all times, trust at all times, okay, brings and builds the right team with you. And believe me, if you are very transparent, if you put the proper objectives at the beginning of the year to the team and very transparent, and they're updated on a monthly basis to see where they stand, you will know who's working and who's not. Yeah. And I'm pretty sure that no manager would like to carry it that would, as they say, they coach, they mentor, but at the end, it's your responsibility and your liability to maintain the value. So you need to make sure that none of the team that you've got, there's no one is going to take, advantage of all your generosity and all that. And one of the way to identify the person is that when you're this generous, you're supposed to see that your team is working beyond your thoughts. What I'm trying to say is that, if business hours are 9 to 6, okay, like the old days, okay, let's say like the old days, that means after 6, there's no emails going to go out or calls going to happen. People will just leave. No one will do anything on the weekend, even if it's urgent or end of the quarter or it's real. They're really needed at such times, but you'll see them working. Mm-hmm. And I'm one of the people that used to tell my team is like, what are you doing on Saturday? Okay, doing all this work. I'm like, you're doing it on Friday. Okay, which is like, I'm doing it on my weekend as well. So, and that's a problem, by the way, because the countries I work with, some, my weekend is a Friday and their weekends on Saturdays and Sundays. But I see that your team is even sometimes working more than you do. And you're trying to hold them down. It's like, no, worry about your friend. Like, no, Hatem, I have a lot of work to do and all this stuff. This is the culture that you need to build. Okay, people who are passionate about delivering, about giving, okay, and love their work. Definitely love their work.
Man, you are just hitting all cylinders. I'm taking notes as we go. So this is exactly what I thought you'd say, but then you added so much to it, because this relationship, these decisions that we make start long before we begin to have generosity and compassion and empathy, because like you said, we've brought on those individuals who will respond in ways that are applicable and appreciative of that generosity to continue to elevate their performance in the job function. In other words, you've set barriers on who is a fit for this type of culture, right? Based on your
100%.
values. Based on your values. And if you haven't gotten that straight, you're gonna crash and burn.
Absolutely. And you cannot bring a bad apple, okay, to the basket. That's a disaster, to be honest with you, because you're working as a team and they are working as a team as well. They're helping each other, although each and every one can speak a different language in a different country and different culture, okay? But that doesn't matter, okay? We all help each other as a team. I was interviewing one of the new people that we hired, and it was a she, and she said, like, I heard that you're a tough manager, and I'm like, really? Okay. She didn't know that. She asked in my team, and they're like, no, not this guy. And she's like, why? Like, do you know that he comes into decisions, and we can change his mind? So as a manager, as a director, even a senior director, you don't have to be right all the time. And yes, your team, if you have the right team, should be able even to be your consultants, your advisors.
That's good.
Because your team as well, they are more on the ground than you are. They are your eyes on the ground, and they can bring in the real picture that they see from their end. And believe it or not, they are very innovative. This is how good of a team you have when they become innovative. And this is why I always tell the managers, don't order your people, okay? Ask them. Ask them if they would like to do this. Ask them if does this work for you, okay? Or does this initiative works in your country? And some of my team members said that, like, one of the demand generation we're planning to do online, okay, it's not going to work out. Although my company was willing to fund and do all this stuff and bring in, an agency to do all the work. Okay, that guy doesn't have to do nothing, but to see if it brings value to his territory, bunch of countries. And he said, no, this is not going to work within my territory, my culture, my people, my partners, okay? And we did not execute in that territory. He knew more than I do, and that's respect to your team, okay? Because you need to be, as much as they want to be, on the same boat, and they want to be decision makers with you.
Absolutely. Well said. Yeah. They help take ownership of those decisions, and implementation becomes even more effective because 100%. It's not top down leadership. It's collaborative leadership. It's an ecosystem that you've developed built on trust. But that trust, I've read it said like this: there's 3 general types of people that you'll have in your organization. The one type, the lowest end, if you will, is the combative. The combative is the person that's always challenging, always just draining, sucking energy out of the life of the team. They even will go so far at lengths to even sabotage the whole environment, right? The combative is a person who is toxic. It's an anathema. It's a person who ultimately will be a cancer to the organization. And we've all worked maybe with some of them.
You don't want that on your team. You don't want that
in your team, right? So you want to eliminate the combative. Then you have the compliant. The second level up. The compliant is based on job description, right? Look, I clock in at 9, I clock in out at 5, I take my 1 hour lunch break, I will do the bare minimum, I'll show up and I'll get the job done. They're compliant. And they're not a bad person, but they're compliant. And then you have your third layer, which is your committed. Your committed is going to solve problems for you and your organization and your team that you didn't even know you had. They're the person that are going to go above and beyond when necessary. They're also going to be the person that pushes back in a healthy way to help you to better understand current context, current issues, so that you can, as a team, work toward a greater possible end state. Who do you want on your team? I mean, obviously, it's a rhetorical question, right?
Absolutely. If you've identified those 3 levels 100%, okay, that's exactly what's out there, and you need to make sure that you get the best on the team.
Yeah, and these are A players. We call them A players, right? But here's the thing about A players, Hatem, and you know this: A players will only work for A players. And they'll work for a B player or a C player for a very short time, but then they're moving toward that A player because they want to be challenged. They want to be encouraged. They want to grow. They want to, they want to be healthier, wiser, freer, more autonomous, right? They want to reach mastery,
100%.
purpose.
True.
And so creating that environment's essential. You talked about culture, and they love their work. It reminds me of Steve Jobs. He said that, a love of his work propelled him always to do the best possible work he could do. And he only brought people on that he thought loved their work as well, so that he could challenge them to reach farther and deeper than they ever thought possible individually, to work in harmony, ultimately.
True. That's if you want to excel, if you want to grow, okay, if you want to sustain, okay, your business as well, okay, that's 100%. That's the way to go.
So let me ask you this. This is a question that comes up, especially in today's world, who, for a lot of people that have this is new to them. This new digital virtual environment in a workspace is new to them. Not you. You've been at this a long time. They raise the challenge, the objection. They say it's very difficult to build culture virtually. What is your response to that?
Just to a certain level, yes. Okay, you can't build, the whole culture 100%, like face to face, of course, but you can build a good business, family-oriented culture between you and your teams, definitely. Okay. As I said, it's not going to be to the level of, having them, of course, face to face, being, sitting in the office, drinking a cup of coffee, and having a meeting in a meeting room, for God's sake. That's been a long, long time. Okay. No, that's more bond, of course. Okay. But if you have the right team with respect, transparency, and the right, as I said, passion, drive, okay, right elevation and recognition. Okay, your team needs recognition is very important. As a matter of fact, just last week, one of my team members was recognized for the best manager in a territory across whole EMEA, and EMEA is Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and that's a huge team. That's more than 100 people, and that's make me proud. Really make me proud. Part of the culture, of course, is to be proud of your team. And this is why, as a manager, I always talk about my team more than myself, because they elevate me on my own. I don't even have to talk about myself. Okay. They, if you have the best team ever, they will elevate you across your organization or about, across your company. They will talk good about you. Okay. And even mention you and thank you when they get recognized for all your efforts, because they know that you have played a big role. And that all together, okay, bring in the drive, bring in the good culture between you and the team, of course.
Yeah, that's good. I wonder how, your team members view you as someone, I would imagine, who has not only their best interest at heart, but helps to pave a path, a way, so that they have the resources they need, so that they can ultimately not only perform their work, but have harmony in their life. I'm eliminating the term work-life balance, because balance indicates equality, right? And of course, life isn't always equal. I mean, sometimes, I'm putting in more hours at work, sometimes there, but there's a harmony that you can approach that is symbiotic. In other words, that it flows, right? This relationship. And so I take this conversation to this, as you cultivate these relationships and they're recognized. I mean, where are some of the roadblocks, I guess, that you see that you have to, as a leader, help remove some of these roadblocks, and with your own team, with your own, as you approach the future? Do you look for roadblocks? Do you see them coming along the way? Do you give them tools to remove their own roadblocks?
As I said, I think earlier, a manager is not just a manager. He's a coach and he's a mentor. He's a big brother. Okay. Why this is important is because when there's something that is one of your directors is not happy to, you want him to feel comfortable to bring it up front to you first. If it's his package, if it's the well-being, if it's family, if it's vacation, whatever, you want him to come first to you. Okay. And that's what I said, being a big brother, being transparent, okay, direct. Uh, and one of the things also I've learned from my manager is an amazing guy, is that if any of your team members, no matter how much you love them, and I said love, I didn't say, just respect, you need to love your people. Uh, if they believe that there's a bigger opportunity they need to pursue, we need to support them. Don't hold them back, support them. Okay. And that's why I said coaching, mentoring, okay, and support, of course, is vital. And that, if you are onto that level, if you can be at that level, believe me, there shouldn't be any roadblocks. I'm not talking about working roadblocks, or milestones or ad hoc requests or issues. We have them all every day. Okay, we deal with them every day.
Right.
And we're talking about big roadblocks that might be coming over. Let me give you a small example. So when one of my territories, I used to have, I requested a head count, and after a while I was granted that head count, but due to some certain circumstances, that head count was removed. So I had a bunch of countries, they're not covered. And this is when you have a great team. One of my team members, okay, sitting down in a different country, said, "Don't worry, Hatem, I can manage it." And I'm like, "What? You're sitting all the way far from this third, like, don't worry. I've been doing it with all this French speaking Africa, and I can do it in this territory. Don't worry about it." This is the contribution. This is the love of the work that you do, that you want on board. So yes, you will have some hurdles. You will have some roadblocks coming, as you said, okay, along the way. But if you're a visionary of what's going to happen, okay, and you can be ready for it, or you should be always ready for it. And I always tell the team, if there's a storm coming, we duck, okay? And we always need to not expect the worst. We expect the best, but we prepare for the worst, okay? So we're always ready for the worst, okay, and always prepared. And because working in a huge organization can pop up any kind of questions at any moment in time, and you have to be ready for it, okay? Just to give them that right number, no matter what time it is of the day. And this is when you have a great team, okay? And believe me, I'm one of those people that I hate to send a text message over the weekend, but if an email comes in, believe it or not, they text me, okay? And I smile. And I was like, "What are you doing at 9:00 in the morning on this?" And like, "Well, I just saw this message, this email that came up with the request." And I said, "Well, maybe you haven't seen it." Like, "No, I've saw it, but I didn't want to disturb anyone on it. Don't worry, I'll take care of it." And this is one of the things that identify managers. You don't have to go, and if you're a good manager, that means you have a good vision and a good eye on your hotel, no matter how many countries you have, and you have all the information in front of you. You can see them. So when you have a request that requires, interacting with all the team members to get this number or data, okay, try your best as a manager, okay, to work it out yourself. Then bring it, or bugging those 10 or 20 people for everyone to bring you this number. And because you should be, as a manager, have the full insight and have all this information in front of you. You can drill down. If you are if you are down to their level, okay, their business, you should know all this requested information. So don't bug your team with small teams. Give them leeway. Now, of course, you said it in there early, you don't want to spoil them too much. No, you don't spoil your team because you're already you're seeing what they've been doing all day. Okay. So out of respect, and you tell them that, we've been requested this and this and that, and I have provided this information, and you put them in the CC. Okay. When you send that information, like, wow, he worked it out on his own. That means, first of all, our manager doesn't want to bug us. He respects us. He has all the information. So it's not just delegating, okay? And in front of the management, okay, it's speed and respect, okay? And that's why we're one of the best numbers in the territory in our objectives.
Wow, that's impressive. And man, it just hits my heart when you say love your people. And it's refreshing, because oftentimes we use fear as the motivator for our people, right? An old Machiavellian approach, right? Is it better to be feared than loved, right? No, it's better to be loved.
No, exactly. Believe me, you don't want your team to fear you. Okay, because what does that mean? That means there's a lot of information. They're not going to just tell it to you when something bad is going to happen. Okay, or a complaint or an escalation. You're not going to know about it because they know that you're going to be a big fuss out of it. You're going to be, I've heard that there's some managers that yell at their directs, and I'm like, how low is that? That's really disrespect. How can you scream at your manager? I could not believe it. And I've heard it 2 weeks ago about a manager that screams at his salespeople. I'm like, are they selling for you or for their own or for the company?
Oh my
It's
goodness.
for all of us, for God's sake. You don't yell at people. Okay. And I even tell my team, by the way, that no one's perfect. Everyone, makes mistakes, and I do mistakes. Okay. And it's your job to correct me. Now, who's the coach here? They are. Okay. Your directs. As I said, it might look in the hierarchy in a vertical position, but really on the ground, it's a horizontal. We're all in the same boat. We're all in together.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I think about Bob Chapman here in St. Louis. He has a company, Barry Weimiller, and he's gotten popularized about his philosophy of doing business. And he says when he bought Barry Weimiller, and it's a manufacturing company, and he started the approach of family. He literally treated his employees as if they were his family. He changed the model and thought, no, really, not just talk like, oh, we're one big happy family, right? Because people see through that. They look at that as is inauthentic. But literally, like, how would I treat an employee who perhaps made a mistake, who was actually my child? What would I do in that situation if I were to use the same process? And he began to implement the same family dynamics in an organization. Well, I would help them to learn better ways of doing this. I would give them more tools, more resources. He actually started a school in his organization. One of the courses is listening. Literally, it's an entire course on how to listen within the organization and preparing his people for their, as you said, their bigger opportunities, whether it was within or outside of his organization. It takes a whole lot of not only courage, but security and trust and love to be able to say, look, whatever your biggest opportunity is, I'm going to support you in that. I'm not going to hold you down because it serves me better. That's huge.
It is a huge. And you said the word love. You know, I challenge that any manager, okay, that doesn't have a team call once per week, at least one per week. Any manager should, definitely 99.9% have a weekly team call. What do they discuss? Okay. My question to all the managers, do you take 5 minutes to go through the challenges, the learnings that happened with you and the team the week before? Okay. Why this is important is because you're a coach. Okay. You love your team as well. So when an incident happened in a certain country, okay, with a certain issue, you need to bring it up to hold the team to learn from, not to have the same problem. And, oh, yeah, well, guess what? It happened with us in that country, and this is the way we work. No, deal with it. Okay, teach the people how to deal with it before it happens. Okay, and this way, that team will feel value. Then you can discuss whatever you want to discuss. Give them also the microphone. Okay, let them put some of the points on the agenda. Of course, most of the managers, they send an email like, if you want to discuss something, send it to us by email so we can put it on the agenda. Well, with all the respect, okay, if you love your team, if you have full transparency, it's not going to work out. And why is that? It's because as you discuss hurdles and issues that happen on different countries, other teams will ask a new question, okay? There was a new issue that happened with them as well, okay, that they would like to discuss. And also be very transparent with the team. Some of the teams, they don't like to discuss things in the open, like to have it one-on-one. Give them also leeway, give them the time. Okay. Unfortunately, that level of transparency is not present in a lot of organizations or managers that I dealt with. And I was really surprised. And as you said, everyone is like, it is me that I've done. It is me that I thought of, and I brought it to the table. And Nate, let me be very transparent here. The most amazing new initiatives and unthinkable ideas that came up wasn't from me. It came from my team. And we branded it with my team members' names. Okay. So they feel appreciated. Okay. Well, everybody knows that this initiative, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a crazy example, painting the car red came by Nate. And like, wow. Okay. So imagine if there's 100 people knows about it, and that 100 people is 100 people. The whole world knows that that car paint was red. The whole idea about the red color came by Nate, and Nate will feel so proud and like, no, it was my boss who came with this, and like, they're so humble. And this is exactly the right people that you want, the people to come up with great ideas. Some of them might be ridiculous, but you have to listen. Okay. And guess what? Some of those crazy, ridiculous ideas came up to be amazing. Okay. That are spoken up about all the way to different continents. And they call you like, can we learn about this? Like, oh, well, I didn't paint the car. Okay, you have to talk to Nate. Like, can we get Nate on a call to tell us how did he do this? And because it is, the results are amazing.
It's remarkable. And I think, saying one, I give you permission, an authority to share, right, in an open, safe environment. Not only that, but it reminds me of Steve Jobs when he had the Macintosh computer first come out. Some of us remember the Mac, the original Mac back in the 80s. And he told his team, his engineers, that real artists, he considered them artists. He says real artists sign their work. And he had each of them sign the inside of the Macintosh computer, and every single Mac that went out had the signatures of all of the engineers, right? Think about that. You know,
that's amazing. Something very small, okay, but believe me, in hearts, that brings loyalty, okay, devotion, passion, all the good words that you can think about people working for you.
And here's the other piece, the practical aspect of what you're saying. You said give them the time. Well, as leaders and as people in managing roles, we have to allow time for those conversations, because we live in a very busy world, right? With calendars being booked up and schedules and deadlines and quotas and all of this. And learning how to section off time for those conversations is essential, because I think one of the things that stifles us is I don't have time. I don't have time to deal with this. I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time.
And that's the wrong word to say.
Right.
You need to find time. If they have found time to talk to you, you need to find time to listen to them. And that's vital.
Wow. So what is your encouragement to other managers who are in a position to where they look at their schedule and they really believe that they buy into this philosophy? They know it's important. And honestly, the results are there. The outcomes are there. The data is there. It works, right? I mean, teams who are tied into a management style of, purpose, mastery, autonomy, and this model of actually working cohesively, caring, loving your people, actually works within a dynamic of a system of culture and values built on, progress, right? And ultimately people that you brought on that are A players who are a fit for that model. What do you say to that manager who says, I still don't know how I'm going to find the time to make this happen?
All I can say is that if you have time to drink a cup of coffee, you have time to listen to someone. Okay. Okay. If you're drinking coffee, just take that 5-minute call. Okay. Tell that person. Okay. And I said person because they are people. Okay. That, listen, why don't you call me 8:00 in the morning? I'll be drinking my coffee. Okay. And looking into the news. I'll be more than happy to talk to you. Okay. Or what you can do is like give, set a certain time during the week and tell your team that, listen, I'll be more than happy to discuss anything one-on-one with you. Okay. If you have a small team, you can do that. You should be doing that, by the way, having a one-on-one call for half an hour where you grant that manager under you, because, the the hierarchy changes. Some people, they have managers, and under the managers there's the team. Okay, you would give them, half an hour and let them put the agenda on the table and discuss whatever they want. As a matter of fact, I have that with my senior manager, and I have that on a monthly basis with the rest of the VPs. So it's a half an hour call. I and they discuss whatever comes to our mind, just like this call. We're just chatting. We chat about work. We chat about anything that comes to our mind, and that brings bond. Okay, bonding with other teams and alignment with our teams in a different way. Okay, so we're not reviewing numbers. Okay, we're just brainstorming together. Okay, how can we enhance the business from our end, from their end? Okay, and alignment. That's the way alignment should be done. What I notice is that a lot of people are more on when it comes to business online is more into putting the slides together, presenting, and all the stuff, and they just want to present what's on the slide and talk about what's on the slide, while they keep the question and answer until the end. Well, what about new ideas? Okay, why don't you bring in new ideas on the table? I was like 6 months ago, I was on a call. It was a big call, a lot of VPs on that call, and they were like trying to think of how can we do things differently. Okay, and I said we have to think out of the box. We have to think of the unthinkable. Okay, and well, no one answered. No one thought about anything. I came back after 1 month with a crazy idea. Okay, I'm really happy to say that funding has been secured. I'm not talking about 1,000 or two. I'm talking about hundreds. Okay, and it's the whole crazy idea that the unthinkable, something we never done in this region, now is being executed and have been approved by corporate and all that. Okay, and that's what I'm trying to always say is that whenever you have a crazy idea on the table, just bring it up front. Okay, yeah. Be transparent. And this is why it is so important that you listen to your people when they have something on their mind. Okay, give them that 5 minutes. That 5 minutes, okay, could be 5 million without you even knowing about.
You bet. Yeah. And some big companies really get it right. I think also of Amazon and Google. And I remember Jeff Bezos saying they have so many new ideas. He said very few end up having, delivering big time. He said, but the ones that do are like 100, 1,000, 10,000x. So, it's a huge win. Same thing with Google, right? And so they create space for their people to be a part of this journey, this adventure, this discovery together. And that's really leadership. And I think it ties right into the statement you made about being excited to open your laptop, having that passion, because right now we're dealing with a lot of burnout, where people are checking out of their day to day, especially here in the U.S. I know, overseas, there's some different dynamics, but here in the U.S. we've got something, called the Great Resignation, where people are resigning in droves because they're saying, my life is bigger than my work. And so they're looking for more purpose, more meaning, more value. And often we look at burnout as sometimes burnout happens because people see a lack of progress. They really don't see a future worth continuing on that journey. I mean, that's just human nature, right? I mean, we want to, in fact, it was a scholar, might have been Warren Bennis that said, there is no more attractive, let me say this right. There is no more powerful engine driving an organization toward long-range success and excellence than an attractive, worthwhile, and achievable vision of the future widely shared. And so this is part of what you're talking about, because new ideas are about vision, right? New ideas are about a worthwhile, attractive, and achievable future, right? That's what new ideas are. But I think it also staves off burnout, because if I'm contributing to new ideas that I'm passionate about, certainly I'm not going to burn out, because that's the direction I want to go.
So as Nate, as you've said, the right passion, right ideas, okay? Because we live in it's not how much money the company is, your company or any company is making today, is how much you're innovative. That's the word, stability. And you cannot be innovative without the people, Okay. So that's the whole formula. You have to put it all together, okay, to pursue what you would want to achieve at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. So this idea then, so this idea of new ideas, do you think, so I want to have some counter arguments, because there will be people who will certainly say, well, new ideas don't always work because people's ideas, they get squashed. They say, well, that's not a good idea. I mean, how do you respond? Because there are ideas that aren't good ideas.
They are, okay, but if you don't listen to them, okay, and discuss them, okay, I'm not saying one person, okay, that's why you have a team call and we discuss them. Like we'll say that, for example, Nate came up with this idea and everyone will start discussing it. It's not your decision, remember, okay, you're in a team, okay, and at the same time within your team, you're not the only decision maker, and they will be able to, argue about it, okay, challenge it, agree with it or disagree with it, okay? And you have to be neutral. You have to be one of the team, but you have to be neutral as a manager and to give them their space to discuss. And if it's good, okay, if they agree to it, you need to support it, okay? You need to take it to the upper level, okay? And bring in that person, not you, okay? You set up the call, but you need to bring that contributor to the table for him to present it and discuss it, okay, with your man, because you want to elevate your team. You want to elevate your team. How are you going to do that? If you tell your boss, well, guess what? Nate came up with this idea. No, you don't talk about it this way. You don't represent Nate. You bring in Nate to present his idea to the manager. And that's exactly what we've done with one of my direct idea. Is he presented it to the management following our internal discussion and the business, and the market demand requirement. And it went up all the way. It was funded as well. Okay. And don't close that door. Steve Jobs never closed that door. And this is why Apple came this far. Imagine if someone came to him like, no, that screen shouldn't be, touching it. Okay. We cannot do that, touching the screen and all that. We like the flip phones. Okay. And maybe that's the mistake of Nokia. Okay. Or maybe the mistake of Kodak. Kodak knew about the digital camera, okay, in the 60s, and they never brought it up front. And when they did, it was too late. Okay. So even if you have that innovation or the idea, okay, the invention, and you hide it, someone else will discover it. Okay. And you'll be history. Look where's Kodak's at today. But you also have to be practical. Okay. There was a big company in the past. I'm not sure if all of our people knows about it. It's called Saab, which is one of the most reliable, safest car in the world. It was a Swedish company, I think, Saab, S-A-B-A-B. And they kept on, caring for the safety more than the design. And they lost the battle. Okay. They were sold and sold and sold. Okay. So you need to learn as well from other corporations to bring yours up front.
To change ultimately, right? And that's so important. I think I was just on a call earlier that we were talking about leadership. And I said, if we don't need change, we don't need leaders. I mean, think about it. Leadership is influence, right? Influence is change, right? I mean, you're moving in a better direction, newer, greener pastures, right? And I think about like when you talked about, Saab or any of these companies, even Xerox, and I think about even older than that, Ford. Ford. As much as there was innovation in terms of the assembly line and lower cost, Henry Ford's model was, hey, you can have any color you want as long as it's black, right? So he had one color. Yeah, one color. And then GM, as they began to grow, started offering options, different colors, things like that. And then GM started taking market share from Ford, right? Because they were innovative, but not only because they were innovative, because they could have what Jeff Bezos calls his customer obsession. And he describes customer obsession as inventing on your customer's behalf because it's not their job to do that. And so this idea of inventiveness, as you're describing it, can be really incredibly attractive internally because people internally can participate with inventing the future together. And it's not just top down, right? It's bottom up
100%.
actually in some ways. And so this is a model for servant leadership. So traditional leadership models are very, tree oriented in terms of the tree is almost like an evergreen tree, right? So it's very small on top and it gets wider. Whereas servant leadership is the opposite, where it's very small on the bottom and it widens on top, and on top are the individual employees. And so if you imagine a tree that actually bears fruit, a fruit bearing tree, right? Like an apple tree or an orange tree, right? And each employee is actually the fruit, and the management and the leadership is at the bottom that nourishes the employees, the ideas that flow from the individuals. And it's a completely opposite approach to traditional business. And it sounds like that's the approach that you're taking with your people. You're
Yeah,
helping to nourish them so that they can bear good fruit.
absolutely. Absolutely true. That's the way to deal with your people. And remember what I said, you have to support them. Even if they want to go out, from under your umbrella, okay, to a different team, you need to be there for them and support them, okay? For them to grow within your organization or outside your organization is your success as a manager, okay? And is you're proud. And you need to, as a manager, this is the way you need to think about it, okay? And not the other way of the way you see managers working with their team. It's unbelievable. Okay, I seen in my past companies where if their employee is late to work like 5 minutes, okay, he lose an hour from his paycheck. I'm like, what if his child got sick, for God's sake? Okay, what if there was an accident on the road? It's not his fault. Okay, well, he should have left earlier. How would he know? In the past there was no Google to tell you there's a traffic jam or something like that. But how would you know? Okay, give them the space to breathe, for God's sake, and they will give you more. They will give you more. Okay, respect them, they'll respect you. Be transparent with them, they will be transparent with you. Okay, and believe it or not, and I keep on saying this, people don't believe it, when they succeed, you succeed as their manager. Okay, yes, they take all the recognition, all the awards, but within the corporate, you've decided to go to the management level. Okay, that's the recognition that you get between all the teams, is that you have the best team and you should be proud of it as well. And there's no way you can contain them for all your life, and that's why you have to support them. Okay, and last but not least, if there's a bad apple, get it out of the basket fast. You don't want it to be with the team.
That's remarkable. Wow. I know you're challenging not only me, but those of us who are in others who are in leadership and management positions. And of course, we've the word leadership and management were once very different, but now leadership and management are now integrated because managers are also performing leadership functions as well.
Absolutely. And Nate, my styles might not be the best styles in the world. I'm pretty sure there's other managers that are doing things that are greater even, okay? And they might have better teams than mine, okay? But, everybody got his own style, and there's a lot of things to learn. And you said a magical word, is that, with innovation comes change. We have to adapt to the change. So what we're talking about, what's working today might not work tomorrow. That is true. But we also adjust. We have to keep on adjusting in this very dynamic world. Okay. Yeah. Tomorrow we're going to go back to office. And by then we probably will forget how did we deal with the people in the office from a long time. Okay. But don't think it's going to be the same. Things have changed. Need to adjust as well. We need to keep on adjusting as long as it takes, because this is life. And life is not static matter. It's a dynamic. Yeah. Okay. And the challenges, they keep on growing and growing, but we're learning and we're adjusting. And as long as we do that, okay, we can prosper.
That's right. Keep discovering, keep learning, keep growing, keep progressing, keep prospering. So this is great. You bring up life. And as we close, I'd like to ask you a question. One day we'll each be at the mountaintop, end of the life, right? If there was one sentence that you could say that you'd like to be remembered by, what would it be?
He was fair, kind-hearted, maybe. Okay, and that's that's what you want your people to the people that you dealt with to talk about you. It was good. Okay, not something bad. That's for sure.
Well, you're certainly on your way, and I'm thankful for all these
Thank you, Nate.
years of your mentorship and your leadership, and just you sharing these nuggets of wisdom that I know will help others along their path. Thank you for
Thank you,
joining us.
Nate.
I love you. I
Thank
thank
you for
you
this
for this
opportunity.
time.
No, I love you. Thank you very much for your beautiful time and this beautiful discussion.
Absolutely. Would
Loved
love to
it.
have you back again sometime.
Love to. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.